What if Anakin Skywalker was reborn with all of his memories? I know you guys have been waiting for this video, so I hope it meets your expectations. Let's start the story on the second Death Star. Vader lays there with his helmet off, looking deep into the eyes of his son Luke, the man who just redeemed him and brought him back from the dark side of the Force to the light where he belongs. Vader knows he's dying, he can feel it, but he's content with this, knowing Luke will steer the galaxy into the right direction. He lays back as his life force leaves him and he drifts off into a deep sleep, one he had no anticipation of waking up from. But he was wrong. His eyes burst open as if he's been teleported into his old room on Tatooine in the old sand hut. He looks down at his arms and legs and he couldn't be older than 8 years old and wonders if this is a dream. His mother Shmi walks in with her bright smile and wishes Anakin a happy birthday and gives him a deep hug, telling him she has a surprise for him after work. Anakin simply lives in the moment, in what he believes is a dream, in his mind, as he feels intangible joy seeing his mother clearly. He had almost forgotten what she looked like. He gets up and goes to work, interested to see where the dream takes him, expecting it to end at any moment. But it never does. He spends the entire day in Watto's slave shop, tinkering and fixing any technological gadgets he's given. He's still waiting for the dream to end, but it never does, and he travels home after work that day to find his mother waiting for him at home with a cake to celebrate his birthday. This has gone on for too long, as Anakin reaches out with the Force and can feel it flowing through everything around him. Maybe this isn't a dream. He eats the cake with his mother, telling her about his day as she tucks him into bed. He falls to sleep, not expecting to wake up in the same situation, but he does, greeted by his mother again and sent to work. And it's now that Anakin realizes this isn't a dream. Something more has happened. Has the Force given him a second chance? A true shot at redemption? Anakin spends the next few weeks embracing the time he has with his mother, enjoying the simplicity of his life, and feels extreme joy experiencing spending every night with his mother after his shift. But as time goes by, he has to decide on what to do next, what he's going to do with his second chance. In only a few months' time, Qui-Gon and Padme will arrive on Tatooine, and he must decide what direction he will take. Will he reveal that he knows everything to Qui-Gon, or will he keep this a secret and attempt to change the future from the shadows? Palpatine. Palpatine is the problem. He knows he's a Sith Lord and can expose him, get revenge for everything he's done. But he also has a second chance with his wife Padme, and the last thing he wants to do is mess that up a second time. He considers not telling anyone anything and living out the same timeline up until he and Padme fall in love. But then again, that would mean letting Qui-Gon die, something he decides he cannot do. Even though he's in a child's body, Anakin still remembers and knows all of his teachings of the Force. Although due to his age, his power has not yet grown, yet due to his past training, he can max out his potential for any age. Eventually, after more time passed, Qui-Gon and Padme came to Tatooine, and similar events played out. Anakin falls in love all over again when he sees Padme walk in, and it's almost impossible to hide the guilt and regret he feels when seeing her. He almost broke character there, but knew he had to keep the timeline intact if he wanted events to be carried out in the same way. She was exactly how he remembered, and is determined to right his wrongs from his previous life. Qui-Gon takes an interest in Anakin immensely, as Anakin offers for them to stay in his house due to the sandstorm that evening. Anakin has to hide his true connection to the Force from Qui-Gon, and he doesn't suspect a thing. Qui-Gon tests Anakin's blood to find an extremely high midichlorian count, and starts to believe he is the chosen one. Anakin is entered in the pod race, however. In this timeline wins much more easily by a considerable margin, and he leaves his mother Shmi and goes back to Cursot with Qui-Gon and Padme. However, he knows that he will not make the same mistake of leaving his mother behind. Anakin is taken in front of the Jedi Council, is tested and passes with flying colors. He calms his mind and ensures his mother is not in his thoughts, something he knows the Jedi would sense. He attempts to fill his mind with balance and serenity, successfully fooling the Jedi Council, who agree that Anakin will be trained as a Jedi, but his master is still undecided. Eventually they are taken to Naboo with Padme, and Qui-Gon commands Anakin to remain in one of the M1 starfighters, but he doesn't listen. Anakin follows closely, watching the fight between Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon and Maul. It's a close fight, and Anakin can sense it's coming to a conclusion. He watches as Obi-Wan runs after them through the plasma doorway, but can sense Kenobi isn't going to make it in time, isolating Qui-Gon. Therefore, Anakin gathers the Force within him and pushes Kenobi, giving him the acceleration he needed to make it through the last door before it closes. And together, Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan defeat Maul. They return to find Anakin still in his N1, and they join him and launch to join the battle above the planet. And with their help, they successfully defeat and destroy the droid command ship and win the Battle of Naboo. Celebration takes place on Naboo, and Padme thanks Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Anakin for their role in saving her planet. She asks what they can do to repay them, and Anakin takes this opportunity. He asks Padme if she can free his mother Shmi from slavery and bring her to Naboo for a better life. Padme nods and tells Anakin it's the least she can do for Shmi's hospitality, and will do this immediately. The Jedi return back to the Jedi Temple, where the Council determine that Obi-Wan has passed his Jedi trial to become a Knight of the Order, and therefore Qui-Gon will become the master of the prophesied chosen one, Anakin Skywalker. Anakin was happy, everything had gone to plan. Qui-Gon survived, and his mother was being transported to Naboo for a better life at that very moment. Palpatine had just become Supreme Chancellor of the Republic, but he was afraid at the mention of the discovery of the chosen one of the Jedi Order. He met the boy for himself, and could sense the power he possessed, and decided he'd try to get close to Anakin, to befriend him, and use this trust to turn him to his side. However, Anakin rejected all of Palpatine's advancements, doing his best to hide his anger and desire for revenge, and never went off with him one-on-one. But Anakin knew in time, he would expose that monster. He doesn't fight him at the moment, because although Anakin remembers all of his teachings in the Force, he is not physically powerful because he's only 9 years old. He can max out his potential for any given age, but once his body reaches maturity, that's when he can reach his full potential. Anakin's training under Qui-Gon flourished extremely fast. I don't know if you can call it training, since he's relearning everything he already knew. But what surprised Anakin the most was Qui-Gon's philosophy of the living Force, and how it resonated to how Anakin used to feel as a Jedi, and started to wonder, what if Qui-Gon never died in his previous life? Maybe things would have been different. Anakin would excel extremely fast, since he already knew it all. This to Qui-Gon only made him believe Anakin was the chosen one, and the Council started to think the same. But Anakin has his secret. He learned, in quotation marks, in 1 year what Anakin previously did in 10, and he was the fastest trained Jedi in all of history. No one could believe it. The myth of Anakin Skywalker reverberated through the Jedi Order, as they could all sense his power in the Force. During this time, he remained extremely close to Qui-Gon, really seeing him as the father he never had. He received news from Padme months ago that Shmi was relocated to Naboo, which filled him with extreme joy. She would now be able to live the life she deserved, and soon Anakin would be with her. Hey guys, really quick, I'd like to talk to you about our Black Friday sale over at Fantasy Sabers. The deal we are running is that with every order, we are giving away one free mystery saber. Now this mystery saber can be any saber from our website. The sale is running from the 25th of November until the 2nd of December, so don't miss out. This is a one-time only sale for you to get your free mystery saber. Check out Fantasy Sabers at the first link in the description. Now back to the video. Anakin decides it's time to start changing the events of the galaxy, and asks Qui-Gon about his master, who tells Anakin about Dooku, but also how he left the Order only a year ago. Anakin tells Qui-Gon that he thinks he should contact his former master, making up the lie that he's felt a premonition in the Force, and sensed that he needed his help. Qui-Gon listened to Anakin, believing that he sensed this, and that his visions are an extension of the will of the Force itself. And Qui-Gon contacted Dooku to meet, and they did on Sereno. Dooku had actually been planning to do this as well, as he wanted to convince Qui-Gon to join his side. Qui-Gon introduces Anakin to Dooku as the chosen one, but before Dooku can say anything, Anakin looks to Qui-Gon and tells him that he can sense the dark side in Dooku. His eyes go wide, and Qui-Gon has a look of confusion, but Anakin says that he's attempting to mask his presence in the dark side, but that he can sense through the shield he has cast up around him, and demands he reveals the truth. Panic struck across Dooku's face as he reached for his lightsaber on his belt, but Qui-Gon tells him to stop, asking Dooku if what Anakin says is real, and the proud Count proclaims that it is. Qui-Gon asks him why, and Dooku tells him that he should already know, that the Republic is corrupt It has been for hundreds of years, and doesn't truly serve the people of the galaxy. And at the center of the problem is the Jedi Order and Master Yoda, and the only way to defeat both was to align himself with the Sith. Qui-Gon tells Dooku that it doesn't need to be this way. The Jedi have Anakin, the Chosen One, and together they can follow the will of the Force and restore the Jedi Order, and by extension the Republic, to its former glory. That he must have seen Anakin's power. He is the Chosen One, and what he and the Sith have planned will not work. Dooku considers this. Anakin is powerful, but is he enough? But Anakin decides to push him over the edge, telling Dooku his thoughts are clouded with Kamino, and asks whether his business there has been worth it. This shocked Dooku to his core. Did the boy sense the truth from his mind? This was what he needed, and Dooku decides he'll give up on the Sith and put his faith in Anakin Skywalker, telling both of them the true extent of the Sith's plans. Dooku accompanies them back to the Jedi Temple and stands in front of the council with Qui-Gon and Anakin. Qui-Gon tells them all the truth of how Anakin sensed Dooku and revealed he had fallen to the dark side, but how he pulled him back to the light. Dooku admits everything, and Anakin is praised. They can all sense his power in the Force and how it's still growing. Dooku tells them everything about the Separatists, the clones, the inhibitor chips, and how they were all created for Darth Sidious and himself to take over the Republic and galaxy. They then ask who Darth Sidious is, and Anakin stops them, stating that it must be Chancellor Palpatine himself, that he sensed the same shield in Palpatine that he sensed in Dooku, but more subtle and hidden, proving that Palpatine is indeed stronger. But he goes further, telling them his entire plan would be to control both sides of the Clone War, creating public discontent for the Republic and Jedi, and then use the clones and their inhibitor chips to wipe them out at the very end. The council was all stunned at Anakin's power. It was as if he had predicted the future. The council decided how to move in on Palpatine, but with Dooku on their side, the proof he must have, they decided to go arrest him immediately. The entire Jedi Council do this, and drag Palpatine out of his office, who doesn't reveal himself as a Sith because he believes he can fight the charges that the Jedi have imposed on him as in his mind. There's no way they have any proof. He's been careful and covered his tracks, however. As soon as he sees Dooku accompanying them, he realizes he's been betrayed. They take Palpatine to their holding cell in the Jedi Temple, and alongside Dooku, present all of the evidence of corruption and conspiracy of the Senate, incriminating Palpatine, both as a Sith and citizen, attempting to thrust the galaxy into war. He's convicted and sentenced into life in prison. Dooku, on the other hand, was given immunity due to him being a whistleblower on Palpatine's operations. Yoda was disappointed that his apprentice had fallen to the dark side, but he was happy that he had returned and was allowed to rejoin the Jedi Order. It was important to comment on Anakin's power at this stage. He's been in the Order 2 years now, and his power equals that of Anakin at the start of the Clone War, but his potential far exceeds what it is now, as his body is only going to continue growing, and he can further study the Force. Due to his role in exposing Palpatine, Anakin is granted the rank of Jedi Knight, the youngest in history. For the next 4 years, the Jedi Order started to change, with Dooku rejoining, and Qui-Gon now given a seat on the council. The main focus of the Jedi Order was to stomp out corruption in the Senate. Qui-Gon accepted a seat because he believed alongside Anakin Skywalker, they could change the Jedi Order and pull them back from the incorrect path that the Order has been on. Even though he was only 9 years old, the Jedi Council valued Anakin's opinions strongly, seeing them as the extension of the Force itself. They believed he was the Chosen One, and is the future of the Jedi Order. He was highly respected, and everyone knew he would become Grand Master one day. He continued his training during this time, and his power increased, well past what it had reached in the original timeline. By the age of 16, Anakin was granted the rank of Jedi Master, and started to learn the secrets of the Force hidden inside the Jedi Archive's restricted section. His power only increased more through this, and his range of Force abilities was unstoppable. During this time, Anakin explored the galaxy and history of the Jedi. At least that's what he told the council, but he was secretly visiting his mother on Naboo, something Qui-Gon knew about and endorsed, as he wasn't as dogmatic as the rest of the Jedi Council. Shmi was extremely proud of Anakin and all he had achieved. Meanwhile, Anakin knew it was only a matter of time before he was given a seat on the Jedi Council, something Qui-Gon had actually hinted at. But he begins to discuss with Qui-Gon about how together they must change the course of the Jedi Order, that for 1,000 years, the Jedi and their dogmatic ways haven't served the galaxy near where they should, and this stems from improper teachings. They discuss how the last 7 years, Anakin has continued to visit his mother, feel the love and connection to her, an attachment, something that would scare the council. Yet his power has grown immensely, and this hasn't held him back. She's been in danger a few times, had medical issues, yet this attachment hasn't faltered him, and his love has only strengthened him. Qui-Gon agrees with Anakin, and has always thought that the Jedi Order's principles of attachments were holding them back, that it was a cop-out, that proper teaching on controlling one's emotions surrounding attachments was of higher yield than ignoring them completely. He even admitted to Anakin that he saw him as his son. They decided once Anakin was given a seat on the Jedi Council that they would start reforming the Jedi Order and its ways. Only months later, Anakin was given a seat on the council, now more powerful than any of them at 17 years old. He begins planting the seeds that his studies of the ancient Jedi have made him realize the Jedi of the current era have steered from their way and no longer follow the will of the Force. Slowly the members of the council started to agree with him, as he and Qui-Gon point out how the Jedi have failed the galaxy. For why do they ignore the beings of the Outer Rim? Solely because they're not in the Republic. He believes that's wrong, and tells them if Palpatine got his way, then the Jedi would have blindly fought in the Clone War, oblivious to the fact they were being controlled by the Sith, simply because they were puppets of the Senate, and this needed to change. Anakin told them it was time for reform, and they worked closely with Bail Organa and the Republic Security Council to propose changes to the legislation regarding the Jedi and change it so they serve the Senate, but are not under the Senate's control. They can refuse requests and act without the permission of the Senate. This was done. However, this was only Anakin's first step, as he and Qui-Gon stated their reform of Jedi principles, specifically regarding attachments. That attachments were not the problem, that a lack of teaching surrounding the emotions that accompany them are. And if this teaching is done to an insufficient standard, then this is when attachments become a problem. This has some council members agreeing, and others don't, but slowly they propose their amendments to Jedi teachings, and it starts to gain more popularity. The final cherry on top was Anakin revealing his attachment to his mother for all these years, and how it hasn't inhibited his power, and only done the opposite. The council was convinced, and they spend 6 months drawing up the proper plan, how this will affect the Jedi, and how they will facilitate them forming families of their own. They decide they will still take babies from families at birth, but give Jedi the option to reach out to them when they reach knighthood. For the first 6 months, the change in attachments didn't have much of an impact, but slowly relationships started to form within the Order, and some Jedi reached out to their birth families. The next time Anakin met with his mother on Naboo, he decided to make a detour to the political building in Theed. It was there he met with Padme, the first time he'd spoken to her in almost 10 years. It took the willpower of the gods to keep him from seeing her during this time, but he knew he would have had to wait until the time was right. Anakin reiterated his thanks for freeing his mother from slavery, and she did the same for Anakin saving Naboo from the Trade Federation. She praises Anakin for his changes within the Jedi Order, that when they met all those years ago, she knew he would change the course of the galaxy. Anakin asks Padme for her help, as he wants her to assist the Jedi into their movements into the Outer Rim, and work on a plan to bring more worlds under the protection of the Republic and Jedi Order. She agrees, and over the course of the following months, they spend a lot of time together. Long days, late nights, and eventually the two fall in love and become married. This was big news. The Chosen One, strongest Jedi in the Order, had married Senator Amidala of Naboo, and this symbolized to the rest of the Order that attachments were okay. A couple of months later, Anakin decided he would take on an apprentice, Ahsoka Tano, and would bestow upon her all of his knowledge. Anakin's power was still increasing, his potential unlimited, and he no doubt was the most powerful Jedi of all time. Everyone in the Order knew this, and 5 years after the Jedi attachments reform, at the same time, Anakin and Padme welcomed their first child into the galaxy. Yoda decided he would step down as Grand Master of the Order. They had all witnessed Anakin's changes, separating the Jedi from the Senate, expansion into the Outer Rim, and allowing Jedi to have attachments. These all made the Jedi Order prosper, and they truly were the guardians of the galaxy. He took up the mantle of Grand Master of the Jedi Order, and Anakin would lead them all into the grand era of the Jedi. If you enjoyed this video, you have to watch what if Anakin was reborn after Return of the Jedi, and what if Padme saved Anakin. Don't forget to check out our insane Black Friday deal, where we're giving away a free mystery saber with every order. The link is in the description, and may the Force be with you.